people from all around the world. As you know, my wife and I are the co-founders of the successandmoneyfoundation.org. We're a nonprofit educational foundation, educational charity, and a 501c3 or an NGO. Our purpose is to provide free success and money classes for anyone, anywhere. And we have three missions. Mission number one is to provide finances and financial rewards for students when they attend class and share with others. Now, we ask when we send out money that you get that money and you put that into your investment accounts and get started investing. That's crucial of what you're going to be doing. So that's the first thing. And we've sent out around 26,000 small transactions. These are money seeds and a little bit of money water to water that money tree. And again, we're not going to give you the whole tree. We want to plant lots of seeds and have you grow those money trees. Number two is to provide a platform, an educational platform for schools, churches, charities, groups, and teams, so you can do this together and have fun and compete with each other. And then number three is to help those in need. And of course, for all the students, for every hour that you go through an online class, we're going to donate a pair of eyeglasses, we're going to feed someone, or we're going to provide some clean water. So that's what the mission is. That's what the purpose of the foundation is. And it can only be done with you. You are the ones that make this happen. We created the footprint. We've created the educational platform, but it's you. And people don't, the goal is to make this so simple that you can teach anyone. Every one of your kids, every one of your nieces, nephews, every one of the kids that you see walking down the street, every adult. Now, people think this program is just for kids and teens. Well, you know what? They're the benefactor. Is really for the adults and the moms. The moms will have a bigger impact on kids than just about anybody. And we want you to be able to have those tools and understand them themselves so you can teach other people. So today we're going to be talking about how to make more money. And our friends at the Academy, the Creative Enterprise, have a wonderful program that you can go onto YouTube and go through, and it's the 25 rules of thumb. And I like what they're talking about, and I want to take my take on each one of those, because step number one is you need to learn how to make more money. Every one of you are going to make, manage, and spend in America between 1 and 10 million US dollars. The one thing that everybody has in common is that they're going to make, manage, and spend money. And the goal is to be able to teach you how to be able to do it. Step number two is you got to separate it. You got to put it where you want it to go. Number three, you got to give some of it away. We don't care where you give it. You just need to give some of it away. Churches, charities, or individuals, you need to give some of it away. Number four, automatically invest. Automatically invest. Number five is to save and spend. The real key to becoming financially secure, financially independent, is to be able to do the wealth formula. The wealth formula is very simple. Every time you make money, every week, every month, you need to take a little bit of that money and you need to set it aside. And we need to get it working for you over the long term. We need to put a little bit of money away every time you make money. And we do that over a period of time. This isn't a get rich quick thing. We want to create a strong foundation. We want to create a whole orchard of money trees that make us money. But trees take a long time to grow, and that's okay because they produce fruit for a long time too. So it's over a period of time. Now, you can make a lot of money real quickly if you do something right, but our goal is to make a long-term money orchard. Then number three is you got to teach it how to make more money and have it go up in value. That's the key. And most of you need a side hustle to do that. Most of you need a way to be able to make extra money. And then when you do, get that down into that wealth formula so that you can start making all of this work. Now, this is something I've learned from my parents. My dad was 4 days older than Warren Buffett, so I grew up with a mini Warren Buffett. Now, my dad didn't have the zeros and the commas that Warren Buffett had, but he had the same common sense, and he taught me those kinds of things. And as a teenager, I did these things. If I wanted to make some money, I had to go down to our family dealership and car auto and sweep the floors and change out the soft drink machine. And, I worked at a very young age. My first real job was at a truck stop washing dishes when I was a teenager. I had to ride my bike out to the truck stop and I washed dishes. That was one of my first jobs outside the family. But my dad taught me about how to take that money that I made and get it invested and having it start to grow. And my dad didn't do it by just telling me what to do. We did it. We did it. I did it. I pulled the trigger. I remember laying on the floor with the newspaper spread out, the TV was going on, and I was looking through all the different stocks so I could find companies that I wanted to invest in. So I had a dad that did it with me. Now, our goal today is we want to talk a little bit about how to make more money. That's really kind of crucial. So let's go to that. And there's really 25 ways to do that. And these are some of the classes that are on the successmoneyfoundation.org. And as a nonprofit, our goal is to help you have a better life. But more importantly, our goal is to have you give your kids, your nieces, your nephews, those around you a better life. The only way we can do that is with education and action. So that's what we want to talk about today. And there's 25 of these. So I want you to get started here, and I want you to take some notes and write down. There's 25 of these things. We're going to spend some time going through all of them. But all of you need to be able to do this. All of you need a side hustle. All you need is an extra stream of income. Many of you have a job, and that's wonderful. You live off your job and get as much money into that step number 4, the investment account, as you can. But in addition to that, you all need a side hustle. You need a small business on the side that can make you some money, and then hopefully it will grow. So number 1 is to start small, but think big. I remember as a teenager, I would go door to door selling Christmas cards. And we would sell a box of cards. I can't even remember how much it was, probably $4 or $5 US. And we would sell cards, knocking on doors, say, hey, I'm selling Christmas cards. Do you want to send some of these out to your friends? And I would go door to door knocking, doing that. And that was a small business for me. I had a small business of mowing lawns. I had all kinds of small businesses, and I had income coming in. I had expenses going out, and I learned about how to do that. But you start small, and you are going to fail at a lot of things. You're going to be successful at some things. You're going to fail at a lot of things. If you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. You need to have a failure rate. You need to lose. If you have a penny, and the goal is to be able to flip it as many times as you need to flip it in order to have it go on heads for 10 times. Well, most likely you're going to have 10 failures for every 10 successes. So the goal is to flip that as many times as you can to get those 10 successes. We don't care about your failures as long as they're not catastrophic. We want to look at your successes and learn from your failures. So start small, think big, and then grow. Donald Trump, as he's running his big businesses, says, if you're going to think anyway, you might as well think big. And so that's the key. And it's not any harder to think big as it is small. The big companies, the big operations, the big organizations, they just add zeros and commas. It's the same strategies. It's the same step by step. Now, there's a little more complexity to it, but your goal is to start small, but think big and continue to do what you're doing. Number 2, you've got to sell what people want. A lot of people say, well, I like this product, or I like that product. Well, frankly, I only like what they like. Now, I'm going to buy the things I want to buy for my own personal, but if you're going to sell something, you got to do some market research. You need to sit on the corner and watch what's selling. When you go to a marketplace, literally pull up a chair and count how many times people are buying something. McDonald's, when they were getting started, they literally had people sitting on a corner counting the number of cars that passed by there. They knew how many people were coming there, and they found out how to sell something that people wanted. Now, Ray Kroc is famous for taking McDonald's and franchising it all over the world. But the McDonald's brothers were not successful in doing the franchises. They wanted 1 or 2 little shops that really did well. They worked in the business, not on the business. They worked in the business, and they figured out a faster, quicker way to be able to serve food. Instead of buying and doing all kinds of different things back when they were getting started, sometimes they were serving burgers, but they were also doing chicken and tamales and Mexican food and all kinds of stuff. They were using plates and forks, and they had car hops that took all the food around there. And the McDonald's brothers figured out, hey, we don't want to do all that stuff. We want to just do the small things that make us the most profit and do a lot of those. And they figured out what people would buy. Of all those things they offered, they had 10 things or 15 things that they were selling. There's only a couple things that really sold that made up the majority of their sales: hamburgers, cheeseburgers, fries, drinks, and shakes. And so they got rid of everything else They got rid of everything else and just concentrated on those 5 things. And then they figured out how to do it fast. People didn't want to sit around waiting for their food. They wanted to come up, get their food, and get out. And so they figured out how to do that. They figured out how to not have plates and forks and all these things. They figured out a simpler way to do it. That everything was disposable. It came in a wrapper, you would eat it, and then you would just throw it out. Instead of having glass with glasses, that people would drink, they went to paper. Everything was disposable. So they figured out how to sell what people wanted. And what did they want? They wanted food, they wanted it fast, they wanted it hot, and they wanted it inexpensively. And that's what McDonald's is known for. In-N-Out Burger in the United States was very similar. They started at the same time. The only real difference was that there was a born-again Christian that owned the In-N-Out Burger, and they did not believe in debt, and they stayed away from debt, whereas McDonald's and Ray Kroc embraced real estate. And so the things we're going to teach you about real estate and stuff like that, these are examples of what people did. We look at case studies. How did they do what they did? So this is number 2, is to sell what people will buy. Okay, so that's really, really crucial. What are people buying? And it's mathematical. You need to sit on the corner and count. If you go to a trade show, you need to see how many units people sell. Find out what is selling, and then find a better, quicker way to be able to take that to market. Number 3, focus, focus, focus. And this goes right back to our McDonald's brothers, and specifically Ray Kroc. The McDonald's brothers focused on how to create the system. They actually had a manual, and they told people how they did it, and they sold their system as part of what they did. And they focused on the couple little stores that they had, but it was Ray Kroc that walked in there and says, hey, this needs to be everywhere. How do I focus on taking it everywhere, not creating the system? Because the system had already been created with the McDonald brothers. So focus on where you're going. Saying no. Steve Jobs is probably one of the best at this. He takes his top executives, his top team, and he says, if I can only save 100 people in this whole company, and we had to go start over, who would they be? And they take those people to a retreat, and then they would come up with all the ideas of things that they wanted to get accomplished. And there would be a list, and then they would cross them all off until they could be number 1 in each of these categories. Number 1 or number 2, specifically, they wanted to be in the top 3, but they really wanted to be number 1. And so that's what they did. They focused on it, and they crossed everything off. They could have been very good at search. They could have taken on Google, but they knew Google was already there. Google was better, faster, and they got there first. The firstest with the mostest wins. And so they decided what they really wanted to do was to be able to create the computers, and specifically the phones. And when they got to that point, they had about all these things that they could do. And Steve Jobs crossed off everything but 2 or 3 things. And he says, we're going to simplify, and then multiply. Simplify your system, multiply. It's really easy to make stuff complicated. The more simple you can make it, and the faster and the more width that you can multiply it, that's the key. And so that's the part about focus. Now, suggestive selling. What is suggestive selling? Sorry, but I'm back on a McDonald's kick. When you drive up through McDonald's, and the reason I'm about McDonald's is because I've been all over the world. I've been to 50 countries. I've been to China multiple times, been to Tibet, been to the top of the world, Everest, and all over. And guess what I've always found? I found 2 things. If I take a little look around, one is Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is everywhere, and Coca-Cola is not just Coca-Cola. They control about 300 different brands around the world. If you look on the back of the can, you'll see that little Coca-Cola logo back there. So it's more than just Coca-Cola. It's all kinds of other brands, Dasani water, all kinds of things. But getting back to that McDonald's analogy, you pull up to McDonald's and they give you suggestive selling. You order a burger and say, would you like fries with that? Yeah, I probably would. Now, if they ask 10 people if they'd like fries with that, let's say that 4 of them say yeah. Well, if they didn't ask the question, then they would have 4 less orders. Would you like to biggie that? Would you like to upgrade that? it's just another 39 cents. Yeah, I would like to do that. So suggestive selling. I'm buying this, and so would you like to add on this? It's very inexpensive. Would you like, you're buying a medium for another 20 cents, you can get a large. You go to a movie theater, especially when you look at the popcorn. Suggestive selling on the menu board. So a small one would be like $3. I'll use $3 for that one. A medium would be $5. See the difference between 3 and 5? And a large would be 6. Okay, so people are looking at the 3, and then they're looking at the medium at 5. Well, if I'm going to get the medium, I might as well just get the $6 one. Their goal is to sell as many people as they can the $6 one, because the profit margin on a $6 product is so much higher than on a $3 product. So suggestive selling is just even on the menu board when you walk in to buy popcorn at the movie theater. Now you're going to start learning these things, and you watch how people do what they do. And then you learn the techniques of what they do, and they say, you know what, I can use that little piece in my own business. I can add this one thing. When I go to Disneyland with my special needs kids that are adults now, they go for the rides and they have a great time. I'm watching everything, and I'm not thinking like Walt, I think like Roy. And I go, why did he put that sign up there that was sponsored by Kodak? The movie, the film people. Well, because he got a lot of money for doing that. I look at how they made it work. How do they bring people in? How do they sell the product? And I'm always watching how they do it, because I want to learn how they do it. And then however they did it, I want to be able to put that kind of technique, that strategy into my own businesses, and I learn from them. Okay, so suggestive selling. Would you like to upgrade that? Would you like some fries with that? Would you like an extra drink with that? Suggestive selling, even just on the board. Suggestive selling in advertising. They're always suggesting things. They're always making it look to get you to go from the small. I don't want the small, and the medium's 5, but for an extra $1, I can get the large or the extra large. And that extra chunk, that extra $1 is profit. And that it makes a huge, huge difference in what you're doing. Number 5, keep your personal money and your business money separate. Now, when we do the 5 steps, you'll notice the step number 4 is your long-term investing. Number 5 is to save and spend. You want to do the same thing with your own businesses. Now, your own businesses, your small business is going to have 5 steps as well. You're going to make money. You're going to be able to separate it. You might want to give some of it away. Really, you want to put some away for extra inventory to dump back into the business. Then number 5 is you got to be able to spend money to be able to make money. The key is to keep them separate. You do not commingle your funds. When I was actively buying a lot of real estate, personal real estate, now I do a lot of investing with friends and big organizations, we would have a separate checking account for each of the major businesses, because I had a major business here and a major business here and a major business here, and we didn't mix them together. They were separate because I wanted to go in and look at this business and see how it was doing. What's its income? What's its expenses? And what's its profit margin? So I could look at that one thing by itself and then jump over to a different business. I wanted to be able to focus on this one that had its own set of books. The same is true with your personal money and your business money. They're 2 separate accounts. Now, you can pay yourself from your business, but literally your business has its own income, has its own expenses, and then when it makes a profit, you can take some of that and pay yourself over into your personal, and that's where that money comes up here. Now, I'm going to suggest that as you make money from the side hustle, that you put that right down into your wealth formula. Okay, we'll talk more about that in a few. Pay yourself a livable salary. I agree with that, but at the same time, when you're getting started, you're probably not going to. You're going to have to plow back your money that you make in the business and plow it back in. I've been reading a lot of stuff on Walt Disney, and his brother Roy was the genius. Walt was very creative. Walt didn't really understand money. He didn't care about money. The only reason that money came to anything to him was if he needed it to chase his next passion. It was his brother Roy that figured out the math. When they were building Disneyland, They figured it was going to cost $1.7 million. By the time they got the doors open, it was 17 million. It cost 10 times more than they thought it was going to cost. Now, luckily, they were advertising on the Disney movies every week on television, and they kept showing all the things about Disneyland. And so by the time they opened it, they had a lot of people that came in to make that all work. Now, getting back to paying yourself a livable salary. You may not be able to when you get started. You have to focus, and you have to you have to plow that money back in. And the big part about what Roy and Walt both said is they made money from something, they'd plow it back into the business. They would take that money and plow it back into the business. Why? Because they wanted it to grow. They wanted it to grow. They wanted it to grow. Okay. Keep good records. Now, there's a couple reasons for keeping really good records. The biggest one is so you can know what is working and what's not working. Okay. Now, I love to make decisions because of math. Simple math. Multiple, subtraction, divide, and multiply. I don't want to do trigonometry. I don't want to do calculus. I want simple, simple, simple. Now, the only way that you can do that is with good records, good marketing records, good financial records. You want to be able to make financial decisions. You want to make mathematical decisions. One of the worst things you can do is to make an emotional decision or a guess. We don't like to guess. We like to look at the math, and the math is friendly. The math may not be friendly at sometimes, but the math is always friendly because it tells us what's working and what isn't working. And then when you find out the stuff that does work, then you multiply it. We find out the stuff that's working, and then we focus, and we put more gas on it. You know, you've got a machine, the machine is working. Now we put more gas on it because we know that it's now working. But if you don't have good records, you don't have good math, you don't have good marketing that can tell you if it's working or not, then that's a problem. We call that direct response marketing. And when you're doing your marketing, for example, you need to say, if I spend $1 or $5, or let's say $100, I need to know how much I got in sales because of that $100. There's a lot of companies out there that spend billions of dollars on their image. We're just building the image. We're building the image. They're building the image. I don't do that. I'm a direct response marketer. So if I put in $1, I want to be able to see that it produced $2 in revenue. If I put $1, I want to see if it produced $3 in revenue. So that's one of the reasons why you got to keep the good records. Number two is that when you make a profit, the government wants some of it. And you can't walk in with a shoebox of receipts and say, I don't know if I made any money or not. They say, well, you know, this is what we think you made, and this is what you owe. And you're the one that has to prove yourself of what you did or what you didn't do. So keep good records so that you can make your business better. You make your life better. The more you keep records, the more you know what's coming in and what's going out. A lot of people just stick their head in the sand. Hey, I've got money in my wallet, so I'm okay. But the key is to start managing that and to see it. Now, we've created on the foundation a thing that took me years to create, which is how to manage your money on one piece of paper. Now, that is going to help you with your cash flow. It helps you to be able to see the money coming in, your investments, your charity, your fixed expenses, and your variable expenses. And we'll do a class on that, but just go to how to manage, go to the download section and go to how to manage your money on one piece of paper. And then it has all these great little systems to be able to track all that for your cash flow. But when you're spending big money, you want to have a separate account. You want to have a separate debit card or credit card so that you can see where your money's going. If you can't see it, you can't track it, you can't determine what's working and what's not working. So there's all kinds of reasons to keep good records, all the way from marketing to be able to see what is profitable, what's not profitable. And we want to make mathematical decisions. We don't want to make emotional decisions. Turn your inventory often. Now, what does that mean? Well, sometimes people buy all kinds. First of all, you need to know what's selling. You need to know what's selling. I was consulting and helping my nephew, and he was a wonderful artist, and he had all these great paintings because he loved to create. I want to create. I want to go build this. I want to go build that. I said, what's selling? Well, I don't know what's selling. And I forced him to get out a notebook, and every time he sold one of his paintings, he had to mark it down. I sold this many. And then he got looking at it and goes, you know what? The vast majority of things I'm selling are these 5 or 6 different ones. Why do I have all these other ones over here when I should be focusing on these 5 that sell? So that's part of the inventory too. You know, if you buy all kinds of stuff, it takes up your cash flow. We need to take that cash and dump it into the things that are selling. That's why you need to turn it. And the faster you can turn your inventory, the faster you can bring it in and sell it and bring it new stuff in, then the faster your business can go. There's an analogy I used to use about dropping a quarter into a slot machine in Vegas, you know, and their goal in Vegas is to have you put that quarter in as fast as you can, clean, put it in clean, you know, and pull that one-armed bandit, because they know that the more times you do that, then the higher probability that they're going to take your money from you. So that's just a side thing about that, you know, inventory. But you want to turn your inventory quickly so you don't have an awful lot of money tied up. But on the other hand, if you can get major discounts by ordering more product, and you're going to go through that product and sell it, then that's the other side of that. Don't eat your inventory. Goes right back to being able to separate your personal from your business. You know, that just makes sense. You know, don't eat your inventory. You got to sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it. 10, looking for improvement. Every day you would get out of bed, you need to be saying, how can I make our business a little bit better? How can I make this faster? How can I make more sales? How can I make it more profitable? How can I reduce our expenses? How can I increase the quality so people will come back again and again? Walt Disney was famous for a quote that he said, do what you do so well that people will come back again and again, and they will bring their friends. Now, why did he do that? Because he had quality, he had improvement. He called his people guests, and they were truly guests. Now, the guest is not always right. The customer is not always right. Now, we say the customer is always right. Well, no, the customer isn't always right, but the customer is always the customer. And the customer is what makes your business go. So continually looking for ways to improve your businesses and everything that you do, and then multiply that. Simplify and multiply. Buy low, sell high makes very good sense. Any of the products that you can do that you can get the higher margin in. So it's going to cost me $1 to buy it, and I can sell it for $2. Well, you know, if I can find a way to be able to buy it for $1 and sell it for $3, then I only have to sell half as many to have the same amount of income. So there's, like we're going to talk about in another class, there's only 3 major ways that you can build your business, that you can expand your business. These 25 are subsets of that. Number 1, you need more customers. The most expensive thing you can do is to go find a new customer. The cheapest thing you can do is step number 2 and 3. So step number 1 is getting more customers, more customers, more customers. But so many people stop at that. The real key is to go to step number 2, which is to get those customers to buy more often. They say a buyer is a buyer is a buyer. We only want to work with the buyers. Find out who your buyers are, then treat them like gold and have them buy more stuff. So number 1, you need more of them. Number 2 is that they need to buy more often when they buy. And then of course, number 3 is they need to buy more when they buy. And we'll do a whole class on that one thing, but those are the 3 big subsets. Those are the big 3 levers to get your business to go. Get more customers, get them to buy more often, and number 3 is have them buy more every time that they buy. Number 11 is inspect more, assume less. So many people do not have a good idea of what is happening in their business. You've got to be able to know from math. You got to know from math. And we want to make mathematical decisions. We don't want to have to make emotional decisions. And the only way you can really do that is by really looking at your business and looking at the math behind it, and face the math. One of the problems is we have hope. Hope is a horrible thing sometimes, because it makes you do things that you don't want to do. I hope this is going to work. I hope that's going to work. We want mathematical pieces to do it. Be nice later. I don't know if I'm sure I totally agree with this, and be nice all the time, but follow your rules and be firm with what the deal is. This is the deal. This is what I'm offering. and treat your customers good. For every customer that you treat well, they'll tell about 2 people. For every customer you treat bad, they'll tell about 8 or 9 people. So you want to be nice. You want to have a very specific policy that's very easy, that's put somewhere of whatever your policy is, and then make sure you take those clients the best you can. Work on your business 10 hours a day. You got to be a nut job. You've got to be a maniac. When I was kicking off some of my businesses, we said we only work half days, from 7 to 7, from 12 hours a day. Right now in the foundation, same thing. We're working many hours to get the foundation off the ground. And it took us 2.5 years just to get the website up and running so that we were happy with it. But after that, we've grown from very few people to over 9,000 students from around the world. And it's all word of mouth. And from a couple thousand hours of online classes to over 110,000, 115,000 worth of hours, because we worked like a dog to get it off the ground. If you had an airplane and you've got to get that airplane in the ground, off the ground and up in the air, do you think that you're just going to go slow down the runway and hope that it takes off? No way. You're going to put everything you got into it to get that off the ground and up in the air. A rocket, if you're going to work on a rocket, you've got to put and get that rocket into space. You're going to spend all this energy to get it off the ground and up until it gets into what we call outer space. Then they say that the breath of a baby can propel it forward. So you've got to work like a dog to get that thing off the ground. Get your kids involved. It's just a game, guys. It's just a game, and games are fun. So have fun with your business. Have fun with your kids. Make it a game. Figure out how to make it a game. And then when you win the game, you get bonuses. It's not about the money. You got to figure out how to get the money out of it and turn it into math. Because if you're making decisions, emotional decisions about your business, and it's all emotional, you're going to be a wreck. Your life is going to be going like this and like this. Now, how can I say that? Because my life went like that. I earned my heart attack when I was 34 years of age. I earned my nervous breakdown in my early 30s. I earned those. I worked hard and I earned them. Don't do that. But work hard, make it a game. Have fun. Games are fun. Change your rules. Get your kids involved. Hang out with your kids and have fun. Okay? Don't take it so serious. Have fun. Games are fun. Turn it into a game. But you're gonna have to work. You're gonna have to work hard to make it work. You're gonna have to work hard to make it work. And you've got to find a business that you can do where you get the margins that you can have a higher probability of success. And so that's some of the things we got to work. Make a profit every day. You've got to figure out how to be able to do that. What I remember traveling a lot of times with taxi guys, taxi cab drivers. And they would work for as many hours as they had to in order to hit whatever number they needed in revenue for them for the day. Sometimes they get it done in 5 hours. Sometimes they get it in 9 hours, sometimes 10 hours. But they knew what they had to do in order to make a profit every day, because they've got to rent the car. They've got to put gas in the car. They've got fares of people that they're taking around. And then they got expenses, and they knew how to make a profit. You need to make a profit every day as much as you can, and then figure out how to be more profitable. Value your customer. Your customer is not always right. They say the customer is always right. The customer is not always right, but the customer is always the customer. So if the customer is always the customer, then we need to treat the customer well, because they will tell others, they will come back. And like Walt Disney said, do what you do so well that people will come back again and again, and they will bring their friends. The foundation has just taken off because you have told other people about it. This has all been word of mouth. This is how we make a huge difference out in the world. We don't give people the big chunk of money. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. But if you sell him a fishing pole and you teach him how to fish, don't sell him a fishing pole and don't teach him how to fish. You can feed him for a lifetime, but if you teach him how to teach, then you can change a whole generation. You can change a whole generation of children. You have to go through your life and connect the dots going backwards. You have values and things that you believe in going forward. But as you go back, you say, where did I really learn that? And I can go back and pinpoint when I was a teenager working with my dad. The lady that gave each of us kids in the neighborhood that's $2.22 to start thinking about long term. It My parents gave us money and stuff, but it was an outsider. Oh, my dad and mom know what they're talking about because somebody else told me that was the truth. That was the way it was. So remember, you got to value your customer, take care of your customer. The customer is not always right, but the customer is always the customer. Do what you do so well. The people will come back again and again, and they will bring their friends. Hire slow and fire fast. Oh, this is a big one. So when you're bringing people on, number one is that there's a whole wonderful section that we've got from Michael Gerber. Michael Gerber is the author of the E-Myth, the entrepreneurial myth. And when I was in my late 20s, I became the president of our event company, our educational company with Robert Allen. And I was 26, 27, 28 years of age. And we hired him to tutor me and our company because we were growing. And we did about $7 million in gross revenue. And by putting the systems in place and the other things that I learned, we went from 7 million to 30 million in 1 year. We 4 times our business by simplifying and multiplying, simplifying what worked and then putting more gas on the stuff that worked so that it had a much bigger piece. Now, hire slow, fire fast. What does that mean? Well, first of all, you got to get your systems together. So the reason I talk about Michael Gerber and the entrepreneurial myth is that he talks about your organizational chart. So many times we build an organizational chart off of pure personalities. It's off personalities. Well, Tommy can do this and Johnny can do this and Michael can do this. And so you build, it's a Mod Podge. No, you don't do that. You build your organizational chart and what they do first. And you build all that out and you say, this is what my organization is going to look like without any names, no names of the individuals. It's the job description. It's the job title. And so you create that first of what it's going to look like in 5 years from now or 3 years from now. And then you put people's names in it. So when we were getting started, we had 10 of us of employees, but my name was in this box, my name was in this box, my name was in this box, my name was in that box. And then as we started doing the business, then I would hire somebody to come in and take my position there, but I already knew how to do that job and I could train them. And then I took my name out of that box and put their name into it. And then they would move up to a manager, to a supervisor, and then a manager, and then a director, then a vice president. So that's how we did it. And if people aren't working out, you bring people in on a probation basis is basically it. Hey, we're going to bring you in. We're going to bring you in for up to 90 days. You're not hired. We're going to see how it works. And so instead of hiring somebody who think you got to fire them, well, I didn't hire you to begin with, and I'm not firing you. We just wanted to see how it was going to work. We have some jobs that need to be done, and we're going to put this in a trial basis. If it works for us, then we'll continue on. If it doesn't work for us, then we won't. If it works, we'll continue the employment. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. And find out what's working. If it works, do more of it. If it doesn't, get rid of it. Work on your business, not in your business. This is a famous quote by Michael Gerber. At least that's where I heard it. And so many people are working in the business. Hey, I was a good mechanic, so I want to open my own mechanic shop. Well, I was a good technician, and now I want to be a manager. 2 different jobs, 2 different things. If you're an artist and you love being an artist and you want to spend your whole day being an artist, you don't want to go out and sell art. You want to create art. Okay. So you've got to figure out what it is you're good at. And a lot of people say, well, I hate working for this guy. And they will work 12 hours for themselves versus 8 hours for somebody else. Most of the time you shouldn't be doing that. What most of the time you should be doing as you get started is have your job, make your money from your job, solve problems, add value at your job, make that business go better, and then start a side hustle. When your side hustle is up and running and you're doing well with it and you know that you can get it off the ground, it's already off the ground. Now we just need to put more rocket fuel to go faster, higher. Then you can start spending a lot more time in your job. But the real key is working on your business. So many times I just sit back and watch. You sit back and you watch how people do what they do. And many times you got to climb up on the ladder and see how people do stuff. The McDonald brothers were famous for this, that they redesigned their whole store after they decided, I don't want to do all these things. I only want to do these 5 things. And they literally went out on a tennis court. And on this tennis court, they would draw out where this counter would be, where this counter, where this grill, where this station was to be able to make fries, where this station was to make drinks. And he got up on a ladder and he had people coming in, making orders and watching how people moved, the flow of how people moved. And he could see that it wouldn't work. So he said, stop, 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 everybody. He would erase the tennis court, get out a chalk, some chalk, and redesign it. And he watched how things flowed. How do things flow? Does it flow naturally? And so he worked on the business. Instead of just being the fry cook, he decided, hey, I want to be the manager of it. I want to be the entrepreneur of this. And I want to create a system where it flows. Now, they did that and they loved having some small stores. They did not want to have to mess with all these other people around the world, around in other states. They liked to have control of their own little world. But that's where Ray Kroc came in and he said, I don't want to build it. I don't want to create it. It's already been created. What I want to do is duplicate it. I want to duplicate it, duplicate it, duplicate it. And that's what he did. Okay, so work on your business, not just in your business. Buy on credit, sell for cash. Boy, this can get you into trouble really fast. Buying on credit, which means you need to be able to have credit lines. You need to be able to have available cash to take advantage of good deals. You need to have, if you can find a really, really good deal on stuff, you need to be able to use financing for it. Now, many of you, it's all cash in, cash out. Just do all of that as much as you can. And then you got to start building that up. But to grow, many of you have to grow organically. I make a profit, dump it back in, make a profit, dump it back in, make a profit, make it, dump it back in. But if you can go in and buy some kind of a product that you know is selling and it's selling fast, and you can borrow the money to go buy it, then that's what financing is. But when you're selling it, you don't want to sell it on terms as much as you can. You want to sell it for cash as much as you can. Now, the flip side to that is I had quite a few big businesses that we had the cash. I'm going to show you just the flip side of that. We had the cash to be able to go out and do the marketing and everything else. And when we sold it, we'd sell it on payments. We'd sell it on time. Berkshire Hathaway, is one of their big stores is Nebraska Furniture Mart and also RC Willey, big furniture stores. And they make more money off financing their people when they buy stuff than just selling the product. So I'm selling you the product. I'm going to sell you this TV, but I'm going to finance it. So you're going to pay me over time. Well, they would make as much money or a big chunk of money on the financing costs. Just like if you were to buy it on a credit card and pay the credit card all that crazy interest, they would do that same thing, but they would finance it themselves. They had enough cash to do that. And so all this finance, they made a big profit on that as well. So there's 2 ways to do the business: is to buy on credit, sell for cash, and to buy on cash to get the big discounts and sell it on financing as long as they pay on the financing. Okay, but that can also be a little scary because you're putting money out, hard money here, and then you're hoping somebody's going to pay you. If they don't pay you, got to be able to repossess it and get it back. But that's a whole different world that we want to talk about. Use multiple suppliers to get the best prices. Always have multiple people that can do the job that you want. Sometimes your main supplier just doesn't have the time, or they just don't have the product, and you'll need that product. So you want to make friends with lots of different people and be able to compare prices, take care of your suppliers, work with them as much as you can, take care of them, but also work for the best price, because that's the difference between profit and loss. 21, purchase in bulk. Again, the key rule to purchasing in bulk is to make sure whatever you're buying is selling. Whatever you're buying is selling. I did a lot of work with Jay Abraham, a famous marketer, world-renowned marketer, and some of his materials are on the foundation site. And he had back in the day where we sold a lot of audio tapes and stuff like that. He had this whole package, and he would not build a whole bunch of them at a time. He would do opposite of that. because he knew he had like 10 items that he was going to sell. Inside that 10 items, 10 different packages. Inside that was a whole bunch of audio tapes, like 30 tapes or something like that. And he would not build them in bulk. He would do them on a specialty order. Hey, said guy bought it, so I'd go build it and fulfill it. Which is the opposite of buying a whole bunch of something. Now, McDonald's knows that they're going to sell a whole bunch of hamburgers. In-N-Out Burger knows they're going to sell how many hamburgers, and they know how many hamburgers they're going to sell for that day. And so they're going to buy that in bulk and get the bigger discount. The flip side of that is that if you're in a specialty item, we don't buy in bulk, but we figure out how to do a custom order. My good friend, Greg Olson, a famous painter, Christian painter, he has a whole system where when somebody orders something, it goes to a print on demand, and it prints this big, beautiful painting that he did. Okay, it's not an original, it's just one of these others, but he only paints to order. Amazon sells a lot of stuff in bulk, but at the same time, if you want to write a book, you can go the opposite side, and it's called print on demand, and they only print what you need. And so they make an order, goes into some kind of a system, they print that book and send it out. All right, have written agreements, number 22. Boy, what can I say on that one? One thing my daddy taught me is the contract's only as good as the guy behind it. Okay, the contract's only as good as the guy behind it. But you need to have written agreements of what happens to things. Mark Cuban was very famous for saying, when I talk to somebody and we have a verbal agreement, I send them an email and have them confirm that that's the deal. Even on little things that are kind of small, he wants that written. Number two is that anytime that you're buying stuff, get it in writing. So, it's just so important. So many times we've done deals with people and didn't get things in writing, and then, hey, he thought it was this and they thought it was this. So you got to get stuff in writing, or it's going to be a problem for you. Increase sales, decrease costs. Very, very simple. You've got to be able to bring in, increase your sales, and then find a way to be able to get those costs down. And again, I'm going to use that analogy going back to the popcorn. You can sell one for $3, or you can sell one that's bigger for $6, but the profit margin on the $6 one is so much more because the cost of goods is very little. The cost to actually buy the popcorn is very little. On a soda pop, the cups are usually as much money or more than the actual drink. So increase your sales and decrease your costs. This is the fastest way to increase your profits. Set a daily, weekly goal. Just going back to our taxi driver, he knew what he had to do on a daily basis. He knew what he had to do on a weekly basis to get his goals done. And, set a goal, have fun. It's a game, and games are fun. And when you win the game, you get a bonus. Okay. That's how I would always think. Win the game, get a bonus. Win the game, get a bonus. Robert Kiyosaki is way like that. He says, hey, I want a new Ferrari. And his wife says, well, good. Well, go do something. Go buy some real estate. Go make a profit on something. And you get a bonus. And what's the bonus? Well, the bonus is the new car or something else. Okay. But you need to set those goals on a daily, weekly basis. What are your goals for today? What is it you really want to accomplish today? And then make it fun. Games are fun. Life's a game. Business is a game. And games are fun. Make your business different from others. That's a huge piece of what you want to do, but you want to be able to find what the difference is. Sometimes you need to model what other people are doing. You need to model how they do it. Tony Robbins taught me this. I'm a big fan of Tony's. I've been friends with him for many years. But you need to see what other people are doing and how they're doing it, and then make it a little bit different. But don't make it different just to be different. Find a niche. Find something that is different that people need. And the way you do that is by ask. We just did a big conference on Friday and Saturday, and we just sent out a questionnaire to all those people, and we're getting feedback. We're trying to understand what it is they want. My job is to find a need and fill it. Find a need and fill it. They also say find a greed and fill it, but find a greed, find a need, and fill it. So the first thing is you got to find out what they want. The way you make it something different is to find out what they want. And instead of just guessing what they want, you ask people. And we do that a lot with surveys. So that's really kind of crucial on how you do all of that. So that's the 25 ways of how to start a small business, how to run a small business, and how to make a small business work. And so I want to thank all of you for being here. One of the things you got to do, small business, that's your side hustle. Y'all need a side hustle. Y'all need a side hustle. Make more money, solve bigger problems, add more value, and study how other people did it. And then you figure out how they did it, and then you put that into your own world. Learn how they did it and figure out how they did it, and then incorporate that into your own world. Okay, so this has been Tom Painter. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to come back with a couple more fun sections, and so we'll see you back here in just a minute. Make a difference, make it happen, and remember, every life is precious.